Most people completely misunderstand where great ideas actually come from. We all just kind of assume that breakthrough creativity requires this magical, inborn inner genius, right? Like a lightning bolt of inspiration that only strikes a chosen few. But this explainer argues something that is a little dangerous, but entirely true. If you believe your ideas have to come from deep inside you, you are severely limiting your potential. So let's dive into this and unlock the actual mechanics of creativity.
You know, we all absolutely love the myth of the lone genius. You've seen the image, right? A tortured artist or some brilliant inventor locked away in an isolated cabin in the woods, just staring at a blank page, waiting for that elusive light bulb moment. We're taught to wait for our inner creative potential to finally unlock. But honestly, this belief, this immense, crushing pressure to just conjure something utterly novel out of thin air, it actually ruins our creative potential. It just breeds anxiety, guilt, and eventually the ultimate creative block.
Think about Henry David Thoreau's famously isolated cabin at Walden Pond. It's the ultimate symbol of this isolation, but is actually a total fabrication. It gets romanticized as this perfect retreat for solitary thought, but the reality, he was less than half a mile from town. He regularly walked in to visit friends, threw dinner parties, and get this, he even hosted annual melon parties featuring his homegrown watermelons. He wasn't isolated at all. So as author George Newman suggests, burn the cabin down. Literally burn down the myth of the isolated inner genius.
Okay, so here is the crucial point. We need a fundamental shift in how we view the world. We've got to stop trying to conjure ideas out of an empty void, like it's some kind of inner magic. Instead, we need to realize that creativity is actually way more like tapping into an external power grid. Ideas aren't these things you just miraculously manifest from within. They are entities entirely external to you. They are things you find, react to, and manipulate.
Which brings us to takeaway 1, ideas live outside you.
This is a massive reveal. The ideas you're desperately looking for are actually already out there, just waiting to be found. And to prove this, you just have to look at the phenomenon of multiple discovery. History is absolutely packed with instances where completely independent inventors, separated by thousands of miles, discover the exact same things at the exact same time. Darwin and Wallace both formulated the theory of evolution in 1858. Bell and Gray filed telephone patents on the exact same day in 1876. Now, if ideas came strictly from a unique inner genius, that would be completely impossible. But because ideas are out in the environment, people experiencing the same cultural pressures naturally stumble upon the exact same excavation sites.
Or let's look at Thomas Edison, literally the poster child for the light bulb moment. Even Edison admitted he didn't conjure ideas from within. Look at this quote. He openly stated he extracted his inventions from his environment. He worked alongside an army of nearly 200 creatives who just relentlessly tested external materials. He was an explorer of possibilities, not a magician.
And this brilliantly illustrates the concept in a totally different field, art. Take Jackson Pollock's wildly abstract drip paintings. We all just assume abstract art is pure inner emotion thrown onto a canvas, right? But cognitive scientists analyzed Pollock's work and discovered his drips mathematically matched the exact fractal patterns of the trees and nature right outside his Long Island home. So even the most supposedly inner art was directly pulled from the external environment.
But here's the part most people miss. Even if you know you should be looking outward for inspiration instead of just staring on a blank wall, there is a massive trap that ruins 90% of new ideas before they even get off the ground.
And that leads us to takeaway 2, the 5% rule.
We generally assume that to be truly creative, we have to be radically original, but aiming for complete originality is actually a terrible strategy. To understand why, researcher Brian Uzi and his team conducted this landmark study. And they didn't just look at a few examples, they analyzed 18 million scientific papers using computer algorithms to uncover the actual mathematical relationship between novelty and breakthrough success.
And what he found is totally mind-blowing. The most influential, groundbreaking, paradigm-shifting hits didn't abandon convention at all. They all sit in this highly specific sweet spot. They are 90 to 95% highly conventional and only 5% novel. Think about it. If you go entirely novel, people just don't understand it. But if you go entirely conventional, it's just boring. The absolute highest impact ideas take a proven, familiar base and just add a tiny twist. The recipe for a breakthrough is surprisingly simple. You make the main dish conventional, something familiar and known to people. Then, you just add something special, a 5% spice or twist, making it new, exciting, and entirely your own.
It's honestly a lot more like remixing an existing song than trying to compose an entirely new genre from scratch.
Which begs the ultimate question, right? If great ideas are already out there in the environment, just waiting to be remixed with that 5% twist, how exactly do we go about finding them? I mean, we can't just wander around aimlessly, hoping we trip over a great idea.
So, let's look at takeaway 3, the archaeology method. You have to forget about waiting for a strike of lightning. You need to start treating your creative process like a highly systematic archaeological dig. Look at Kamoya Kameyu. He was a former goat herder in Kenya who somehow went on to find more hominin fossils than anyone in history. It wasn't magic. It was simply because he spent years cultivating the skill of reading the terrain. He literally learned to spot the tiniest deviations in the dirt that hinted at massive treasures buried beneath. And guess what? Creativity works exactly the same way.
To find your breakthrough, you've got to follow Kameya's 4 steps. First, surveying the landscape to decide where you're even going to search. Second, gridding your parameters so your search is organized and focused. Third, digging to unearth as much raw material as humanly possible. And fourth, sifting to carefully analyze what you found and select the absolute best gems.
This beautifully maps the cognitive mechanics of the dig. You must constantly alternate between wide, free-form surface exploration, like early brainstorming and diversifying your inputs, and focused, systematic, deep work, like constructing a grid of constraints and generating very specific iterations. You really can't just do one or the other. You have to ride the wave between broad curiosity and ruthless focus.
Now, when you are in that digging phase, you will inevitably hit what researchers call the creative cliff. This is that overwhelming urge to stop generating ideas the very second you find your first good one. Do not do it. To find the truly great idea, you actually need a massive portfolio of bad ideas. You have to push past the obvious answers and keep digging until that truly unique 5% twist finally reveals itself.
And finally, when you're in the sifting phase, separating the good stuff from the bad, you have to decouple the ideas from your ego. Studies show a really fascinating danger here. If you praise someone for their inner genius or tell them how incredibly smart they are, they actually become terrified to take future risks. They start looking for shortcuts just to protect their genius status. So praise the effort. Praise the dig. The ideas are out there. They are not a reflection of your innate worth.
Section, your next discovery. As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to fundamentally rethink our role as creators. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an artist, or a scientist, we are not magicians. We do not have to carry the impossible burden of conjuring total novelties from a void inside our heads. We're explorers. We are equipped with the tools to unearth, combine, and slightly twist the incredible potential that already surrounds us every single day. If you truly internalize this, that your next big breakthrough is literally just sitting out there, 95% built, waiting for you to excavate it and add your unique 5% twist, it changes absolutely everything. The only question left is, where are you going to start searching today?